Total War is back and we are headed to China. I am Tamor Hussain and I'm joined by Dave Jewell, our resident strategy game nerd.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
happy
right?
being called a
happy
nerd about this.
You played Total War Three Kingdoms recently
Mm-hmm.
and you came back very, very excited.
Yeah, man.
I dabble in strategy games, but your excitement has kind of rubbed off on me and now I want to know about it. What is it about this game that's kind of tickled you?
It's just got so much to it. There's so many layers. It's every minute I played it, and I played it for about 5 hours. It was something new and fascinating that had never happened in a Total War game happened to me. The Three Kingdoms, the romance of the Three Kingdoms version, which is probably the only version that I'm going to be playing, where it's very character driven. Your generals can take on hundreds of men on the battlefield. That's just constantly amazing to see, issuing challenges when you've got like Guan Yu, the original Lord of War, God of War, should I say, running across the battlefield to start sparring with Cao Cao. It's insane to watch. There's the levels of diplomacy, the levels of espionage, managing your houses, the relationships that forge just without you even noticing. It was tricky to kind of appreciate and to keep on top of at first, because I was used to kind of, I don't want to say a simpler Total War experience, but a Total War experience without a lot of these things in. And with all these new layers, I was like, oh my God, I actually am ruling a kingdom now.
Yeah, so like the source material itself is full of very recognizable and strong characters. How is that represented in the actual game? I assume it is represented in the game.
Yeah. So names that, like the obvious parallel that is going to be drawn is Dynasty Warriors. That's the most popular game that's used the Romance of the Three Kingdoms as its backdrop. But that's where the similarity ends. It'd be like saying that Company Heroes 2 is like Call of Duty World War II.
Right.
They both use World War II, but they're completely different. But if you've played any of those games or are familiar with any of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, then all the names will be recognizable. The actions that start the game are instantly recognizable. Like Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, their bond under the Blossom Tree is how that campaign starts. Dong Zhuo being a tyrant is exactly portrayed, even with Liu Bu being like a powerhouse taking down Dong Zhuo, the Yellow Turban Rebellion. It's fascinating to see it all like come to life. And then the characters they're in the game, they're written as they were in the romance novels. So Liu Bei is like an honorable man, and Dong Zhuo is a piece of shit.
And like from what I can tell, like there's a lot of stock put into in this game, especially kind of like your relationships with other characters, and the fact that they've got all this kind of minutia as well kind of feeds into the micromanagement element of a strategy game like Total War. Like, you know, you spend ages trying to keep people happy and seeing how that plays out. Like, did you have any instances of you kind of interacting with another character and it benefiting you in some way?
Yeah, there was a moment, I forget the leader's name, but he basically shared a border with me, and, you know, early game Total War, be friendly with your neighbors, trade some food, sign like a military access pact, great. And then one turn ended, and it was like, oh, the old man you were mates with, he's dead. Sorry, mate, he's popped his clogs, natural causes and all that. He hasn't popped out Sprog. He's left you all his land. And immediately I was like, oh my God, great. I've just got like 3 more towns. And then I was like, oh my God, I've got 3 more towns that I have to manage. And then you see the people that, like, his court are now your court. And some of those members don't like you. So then you have to work to make them like you by giving them more status in your kingdom. And then giving them more status upsets the people that have been with you longer. But I needed to keep them happy because it's my new town. And now my old boys are pissed off. So you give them a present. It's like, it's juggling all these emotions that these virtual people have. It was bizarre, but like tiny little things were making one guy happy and pissing another dude off.
This sounds mad stressful. And you know that inevitably it ends up in swords clashing. So what is like, has the gameplay itself changed? Because from an outside perspective, for people with little to, you know, no investment in the franchise, they probably just see these large armies just clashing. But on a deeper level, you can probably tell that it's changed quite a bit as well, right? Like, what's different about the combat now?
The biggest change is the generals that you take in, your warlords. You have like champions and leaders and vanguards that are real powerhouses and can engage in like intense duels with enemy warlords, which is great because it eliminates a powerful character, and also is like hugely, it destroys enemy morale. But then you also have strategists who can do like passive buffs, and they have their own suite of abilities that match their class, if you will. And these are people that you want to keep happy on like the wider world map. And again, they also have their own relationships. So if at the start of the game where I played as Liu Bei, and it's Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. So their relationship is only just starting at the start of this coalition at the end of the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So they're not that friendly yet, and you can hear jibes to each other while they're fighting.
You fight like your wife! I fought my wife! That's a compliment!
And then the more they fight, the more they work together, the more they operate together, the closer that bond becomes, which grants bonuses to them fighting together. So all the stuff that's happening in the outer world of the campaign map that seems quite minutiae can actually make big impacts when you take these characters into battle, because this game is so character driven in a way that it's weird to see in a strategy game. It's fascinating, man. As soon as you start playing it and you start toying with these characters and like not only manipulating them just as a leader, but also outside of your control. Like I had one guy which played into the espionage part. I had a guy who joined me when his faction dissolved. So I knew he had a good relationship with Cao Cao, but then I paid him or influenced him to go spy on Cao Cao, which started feeding me information. Because Cao Cao liked him, he introduced him as like a chief advisor, feeding me mad information on the table. It was crazy.
See, that I'm into. Subterfuge, espionage, that's how
Play as Cao Cao.
Like, yeah.
He's the master manipulator.
That's what I'll be going for then. It sounds like it's quite sweeping in the kind of like improvements and changes and that kind of stuff. And I think more so than others, like this, the kind of Romancing of Three Kingdoms angle of it is really, really appealing to me. So as a novice player, how easy do you reckon it's going to be to get into? Did you get a feel for kind of like skill level you need to go into this game?
With the number of starting factions, I think you're going to be fine. It's going to appeal to a super broad skill level, whether you want to focus on the campaign map, whether you want to focus on actual combat. That's just going to, that's just your play style. But all the stuff they've added was interesting to me as a long-time Total War fan. But if someone's just jumping in to the franchise now, it's I think people are going to pick it up super easy. It's another level of satisfaction and excitement seeing these larger than life characters jump into combat with each other. Some people were concerned that it would take something away from the historical stuff, but the thing is, you can play the entire game without the romance stuff, without the larger than life characters and Guan Yu taking on 100 dudes. You can play it like a historical game, but I think that's where this game's strength really is.
Right.
It's because all these characters and personalities add so much and such, way more than I even thought. I think that's like the best way to play.
I think you sold me on keeping an eye on it and checking it out when it's available.
Just hundreds of mad dudes smashing spears together.
Why don't you just say that at the start?
You know what Total War was. Now you just got Liu Bei charging in and knocking dudes over.
That sounds good to me. I love a bit of Liu Bei. When is the game out?
7th of March. That's when people can start taking command of their armies.
There's still plenty of time until then, during which I'm sure we'll get a chance to play more of it and see more of it, or you will specifically.
Yeah, 100%. Don't say this away from me.
Yeah, keep an eye on GameSpot to see more from that game.
We should have a full 20-minute gameplay session on the gameplay channel and on the site at the minute. That's got a nice mixture of interesting campaign map stuff and a fight against Cao Cao that I definitely should have lost, but I was really cheesy the way I did it.
Well, I imagine that people who see that are going to have more questions, so if you want those answered, find Dave on Twitter at Irregular Dave, ask him. If you want questions about anime answered, you can find me on Twitter at TorH, or like Metal Gear, maybe. There's
no Total War anime yet.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
When that happens, that's the day I let you go to the Total War event.